Hey all, welcome to the Sports Chat. Today's episode, it's just BJ today. Aiden's unable. Hopefully you listen to this episode, Aiden, and we'll see you in the next one with the wonderful, you awesome, as being the co-host for Sports Chat, the BJ Show. So, welcome all. So, in today's intro, we're going to break it down, and we've got round 9, Mother's Day round. Trying to hope you had a great Mother's Day, as well all the mums out there. First week of the Sir Doug Nicholls Round. Unfortunately, Aiden will not have his round the ground, but hopefully he'll have some very special moments. Even it's round 9 and 10, totally fine with that, Aiden. Hopefully he heard this moment. And as well, we will also have that BJ moment. So, what's been happening since the last episode? So, since the 2 weeks ago, since our last session, today, just making it break down. Footy's going great. We did really well. Played at Kenilworth against Chitty Gully, and we did really well. They had both teams have full teams. It's fantastic with that competition. I also want to let you all know that I played at Mothervale Basketball Stadium. It was a great day. Played 6 games, 32 minutes of games, no subs, 5 on 5. So that was a bit of a breakdown of what's been happening. You know, it's been fantastic. So let's get straight into it. Round 10, Sir Doug Nicholls Round, the first week, and Mother's Day round. Hope you had a good day. All the mothers out there, was all your teams winning. And most important, you had a good day on that Sunday. So we're going to break down to the Game 1 MCG. We had about 80,000, and we head to the first game at the MCG, as mentioned before, Thursday night football. And we got the Carlton Blues up against Melbourne Demon. Let's break this game. So this was my thought, one of the biggest ever comeback from a team like Melbourne. Will be breaking it down as well. So let's get breaking down by quarter. Well done to Carlton Stone with 5 goals to zip. Now Melbourne, what happened? That was really not the best start. So, well, you know, you could not even get a record score on the board. Now, I have not seen you done that in a team in a long time. We came to the second quarter, very even in the second quarter. 3 goals apiece. You know, it was a 5-goal lead to the Blues. Half-time came, and Melbourne, my goodness, this is the comeback. This is what I love about Melbourne. You know, they 4 goals to 3. You know, can't just keep replying. And it was the last quarter once again, 4 goals to 1. And I'm going to be coming very shortly, but well effort. This is the biggest comeback you can have in a game of football. Now, backing into Carlton, well, good start. You got the start you want. That's really what your fast football's all about. Now, coming to the second quarter, Melbourne have a bit of a Smith into this game. And it was you guys, Carlton Blues, you know, you lead by 5 goals. You know, that's a 31 point. Something just happened, and you just only not enough to keep them in your control. Key accuracy, that's great, but not enough on the score. But did you have enough pressure? So 3 goals, and then another 1 goal. You cannot let a team come back into the game. We lean by, say, 4 goals at 3/4 time, and it was almost like Melbourne just wanted to win that game. But well done on the result. Bail up Melbourne. Well done on both teams having a good contest. We're heading to Thursday night football. Well done on Carlton with the victory. Good effort, Melbourne. Now we've got the Geelong Cats hosting Port Adelaide as we go travelling on a train to Geelong at GMHBA Stadium. As I mentioned, Geelong versus Port Adelaide. We are here in Geelong. We are here in the GMHBA Stadium for Geelong and Port Adelaide. Let's get right into, and we are here for that. So, well, what can I my thoughts for this game? Now, a slow start to Port Adelaide last week, having not the greatest start. And it was the first quarter. And before we get to Geelong, we're going to have to congratulate Port Adelaide. Since 2007, this has been a long time coming, and it was a brave Port Adelaide. It's been over a decade. It's been 17 years. I'm hoping I've got that correct, and I have. Wow, no one saw it coming. 8 goals to 3. Then it came to another 4 goals to 2. Then it came to a very even quarter. Geelong just got that Smith back into that game, giving 6 goals. That was the quarter they needed to bless the Port Adelaide, just the 2 goals. And it was 3 goals to 1. So Port Adelaide really got smashed in the second half, but it was Geelong kicking 9 goals, 5 to Port Adelaide's 3 goals, 6. So they did got a bit of an upset replied, and that was okay. So let me get my thoughts with Geelong, and we'll get my other thoughts of how did Port Adelaide won this game. So my theory. So Geelong, poor start. You cannot have slow starts against teams want to look out for you. We know how good you can be in Geelong on your home ground. And it just Port Adelaide were too strong, and they you kicked the first 3, you kicked 3 goals for the first, you kicked the 3 goals for the first quarter, another 2, they're not great. Kicking 5 goals in one half. It's the first time in a long time seeing a Geelong Cats just couldn't get, but it was the third quarter. You won the second half. You kick totally, I mentioned the actual before, 9 goals, let's just say 59 points to 36. You won by 23 points in that second half and losing by 1 goal. And like I mentioned, Crouch on Port Adelaide, a 17-year drought down at the Community Park. Doesn't matter what day it is. Last time Port Adelaide beat Geelong was 2007, as I mentioned before, late in the year, before finals. And it was Dom Consistency winning the game, if I got that correct. But it was a Saturday afternoon football, if I got that correction. But it was Friday night, and it was a packed house, decent crowd. So, but that was with the Cats on a result. They'll bounce back next week. And now we're done our time in Geelong. What a good game in entertainment. Now we're travelling from Geelong, Victoria to Western Australia at Optus Stadium. We are still in Friday night footy. That was a good flight. It was safe, but we have landed safe in Perth, or we'll let you know, and we are now in Optus Stadium for the Dockers and the Swans. So this is a very special, before we get into it, to the legend Ken McCarthy, rest in peace. You're a great football athlete. You'll always have a really tribute for this amazing Aussie rules game. You did great for Fremantle Dockers Football Club, and respect for the Sydney Swans. They had that very important silent moment. So rest in peace, mate. So let's get breaking down now. I'm not going to get too much into the detail of games, as it wasn't a great night for the Fremantle Dockers, but keeping it all nice and positive. So I'm going to just begin with the Fremantle Dockers. So look, it was just heartbroken, and it was a shock for me. And going into this game, it was going to be a very not easy contest. New Sydney were going to be good, but you kick 1 goal to 3 goals, keeping 7 points the difference. So well done on that point. Then 3 behinds, just couldn't find those goals. Believe in yourself in the second half, and you only let them kick 6 goals. Unfortunately, accuracy works for the Sydney Swans, but 1 goal 5. So the 2 goals 2. So knowing that you're in that contest, points don't matter, and it was 2 goals 7. Now Sydney should have done the job, but made it nice and balanced with behinds. But Fremantle, as it did really well this quarter, 2-2 to 2 goals, 7. So bad luck to Fremantle, heads up next week with City Swans. You got the job done. You went to Perth, knew what you how capable you could be a talented team. You know, it was a very, very emotional for Fremantle, but very well respected to keep the game in order. But, you know, you got the job done. Well done on efforts, but it was a good try to Fremantle. Just keep trying for the rest of that season. Thursday night footy, we were in Melbourne at the MCG. Then we trained down on Friday night for the Cats in the Power. Then we flew just a nice quick trip over to Western Australia. Now we are flying to University of Tasmania, the Hawks and the Saints. Let's get on the plane to Tasmania. Oh, well, Tasmania, here we are. And here we are indeed. So, welcome to the Hawthorn hosting St Kilda. What a game this was. And what I gotta say, congratulations to the winning team. I will be announcing very shortly. So I'm going to share my thoughts with St Kilda, then we'll go to quarter by quarter. Yeah. So, St Kilda, wow, it was very, very even, but you look like you just didn't want to be there, but you gave it all. You know, you're against a team that has improved over so many weeks, and yeah, just keep trying. It's only 5 points. It's, you know, it's a really difficult travel just to go and get a win against the improved rebuilding Hawthorn. So well done Hawthorn with the win. Let's get into the quarters. So Hawthorn, great start for St Kilda. Pretty even, a couple points a quarter time. Then it was Hawthorn, 2 goals to 1 St Kilda. Then it was very much the same. 2 goals to 1 like the second quarter. It was St Kilda's 5 behind, lost that part of that quarter. Then it was 4 behinds to 2 goals. St Kilda regained that quarter from the third quarter. So well done once I said to Hawthorn, you know, good effort St Kilda with Hawthorn, well done, got the job. You know how you play in Tasmania, you know, it's not an easy just travel for both teams, but Hawthorn got a little bit of advantage. So yeah, so that's my thoughts for the Hawks and the Saints. Well, let's just reset St Kilda and Hawthorn, get back on the track and perform another week of footy. Let's now get back on the plane from travelling from Tasmania to Melbourne at Marble Stadium for the Essendon versus GWS Giants. Well, good flight. We're back in Melbourne at Marble Stadium. What a wonderful oval this is. We got Essendon vs GWS. Let's now get into this game right now. Essendon vs GWS Giants, known as Great Western Sydney Giants. So let's just break down the quarter by quarter, then I'll get into my thoughts of the Bombers and the Giants. So we begin with the Essendon Bombers. So to start off, wow, a really slow start to them. You know, they normally play well at Marble Stadium. It's normally their home stadium, one of the of several teams in Melbourne. And I've got to say, a slow start, but the second quarter it got better. You got 3 goals. Then you hit after half time, you won that quarter 5 goals. All share with GWS Giants very shortly, and it was another 3 goals. Well done on the win, which GWS Giants, good start, but it looked really flat after that. So in regards, it's 4 goals, and then 2 goals, 2 goals, and then 1 goal. So the last half really you got, so 8 goals to 3. So that is a big difference. Good effort Essendon. You know, you knew how Essendon has improved so much, and between these two teams, and GWS has gone down and Essendon just gone up. Brand new team. It's finally come into this point of the season that Essendon are going to be one of the favourites for the Premiers. You know, they've been working to get to this point, keep effort up for both teams. Well done, Essendon, on the win. G-Dayers, good effort. Get back on the track next week and head to the next game. Good luck. We're now being from Melbourne at Marble Stadium. Now let's get back on the plane to TIO in Darwin for Gold Coast Suns hosting North Melbourne. We got Saturday night footy. Let's get straight on the plane right now. It's warm right here at TIO Stadium. We got Gold Coast Suns hosting North Melbourne. What a good game this one, but unfortunately the improved North Melbourne just can't see it at the moment. But Gold Coast just kept backing bad football, but get the job done. Big win as well. But let's just break down this game right now into quarter by quarter and then my thoughts into the Gold Coast and North Melbourne. So we're starting with North Melbourne now. Not a lot to say about North Melbourne, but they were in the game. They were one goal down at quarter time, so that was a positive start. Another goal, they kick goal after goal. They kick goals each quarter. That's a start, showing that you can do it. But it was the last quarter, 5 goals, 5. So 1 goal each for each. First quarter and second quarter. Another 2 goals, so double that, and another 3 in the final quarter. So that was a much better effort, but not enough. Now let's get to Gold Coast. Well, what can I say? Poor kicking's bad football. Now it wasn't windy or rainy, it was just humid, and when you kick poor, you rush, you go back on the track, get back on the track and get your kicking straight, better improve for the next game. You've got a big test against Geelong, one of the favourites for this year's in the Premiership flag. Good start, 2 goals. North Melbourne came hard up by a goal, then you hit another 3 goals, 8. Now, where was that? That was not great, but practice makes perfect. But, then it was another 5 goals and another 7 goals. So, you just keep adding goals after goals, but you improve so much. Hopefully you come in for the first time in history to May finals. I'll be 100% be happy with that. Gold Coast making the finals, I'll be alright. Anyway, well done Gold Coast, good effort North Melbourne. Now, that is my thoughts from TIO Stadium for Gold Coast Suns and North Melbourne. From Thursday night for the Blues and the Deans at MCG, down at Geelong for the Cats hosting the Power. Then we went to Perth for Fremantle versus Sydney. Then we went to Tasmania for the first Saturday afternoon footy for the Hawks and the Saints. And then we went back to Melbourne with the Essendon Bombers hosting GWS Giants. We head to Saturday night footy. Out of the 2 games we had for Gold Coast versus North Melbourne. Now let's get back on the plane from TIO Stadium in Darwin as we get back to Melbourne. A bit cooler weather as the Richmond Tigers versus Western Bulldogs. Hey, we're back, and guess what? What a good flight it was from Darwin to Melbourne. We were just at TIO for Gold Coast versus North Melbourne. Now we got the Tigers v Bulldogs, and what can I say? It was one way. Richmond just got so many injuries on their list, and I'm just going to break down the quarter by quarter. Here we go. So not the Richmond Tigers I know. They are, they are in the rebuilding stage again. 1 point, 4 quarter. Right. Then we get 3 goals, and then 1 goal in the third quarter, and another 2 goals. Right? The best quarter was actually the second and last quarter, but with the Bulldogs, 3 goals, 6 goals, 4 goals, and another 6 goals. So really smashed them in, really dominating by scoring. But unfortunately, Western Bulldogs got the job done. It was a big win, you can't just walk in the park, but winning by 91 points one way. So for the Bulldogs winning that game, Richmond kick accuracy, that's really good, but 19, that's double. And coming into, I'm going to share a bit of player stacks in my screen. I'll just give you maybe Adam Tour, with a goal, 41 disposals, that's just impressive. 154 fantasy and 7 marks, 5 tackles. A performance for the champ Bulldogs. Tim English, 109 fantasy with the 18 disposals with 31 hitouts with 7 marks. Good performance. And we have who is kicking them? Aaron Norman. What a champ. 111 fantasy, 4 goals, 20 disposals, 10 marks, 1 tackle. So for the Tigers, Sean Bolton from the Tigers, 89 fantasy, 2 goals, 19 disposals with 5 marks, 4 tackles. We'll go down to continue on with the Tigers. So Daniel Ravioli, 26 disposals with 6 tackles, 3 marks, 102 fantasy. And Jaden Short, well done, your performance, 74 fantasy with 20 disposals, 4 marks, 1 tackle. So a really good even up, but it was a bit tight because not their best performance. Just keep trying, got a long season ahead, coming up to the halfway point, and well done to the Bulldogs, winning a big win against them. Well, a rebuilding Richmond Tigers. We've done it. We've got 2 more games remaining at Marvel Stadium and travelling to Adelaide Oval for Twilight Football. Have a Brothers Day. Yes, we have a double header. So let's go on to the train to Marvel Stadium for Collingwood hosting West Coast. We've made it off the train and we are in. That was a quick travel to the MCG. Even we just walked over, but we decided to train over to Collingwood versus West Coast. What a just a one game this was, and unfortunately it was not the greatest game for West Coast, but they gave it all against the Premiers. And West Coast are coming really well at the moment, but it was Collingwood getting the job and a little bit too strong. So it's for Collingwood and West Coast. So 4-1. Good start Collingwood. Keep trying into the second quarter. It was 2 goals to Collingwood and it was 7 goals. A very accuracy for Collingwood as well to West Coast. Now, unfortunately, it was a 3 goals to 4 behind. And it was 2 goals to 1 in front of, West Coast. So West Coast won a quarter, but if they keep those 4 goals, it'll be a very different story, let's just say that. So good effort West Coast. Keep trying every week. Games are not going to be easy, and some games are just going to be really you want to take on in front of your West Coast fans. That's just impressive. Travelling to Melbourne to take on Collingwood is not an easy travel, and it's a big travel. So well done on Collingwood. You're good for a reason. You've been there and you got the job done with West Coast. Have to keep trying every week. It's not going to be easy. Games could be easy, some games won't be. So you're going to have to keep it trying. So let's get into the player stats. Nick Dacos and Jack Cripps and Scott Penberry. Well done on your performance. With Tom Code, well done. Tim Kelly, so well done on your performance. Jack Cripps, actually, well done, Collingwood and West Coast. Now, let's head back on the plane from Melbourne, Marvel Stadium, Collingwood versus West Coast. We're now heading onto a plane. We have LA Crows hosting Brisbane Lions. We have made it. We're safe in Adelaide, South Australia, Adelaide Oval for LA Crows hosting Brisbane Lions. Welcome all. This is my thoughts. You'll hear it is a BJ moment, but the game of the round. My thoughts will be this one. It could be something else. So let's get into this game. So my thoughts. How can I say this was like a knockout final, and this was exactly what I think it was. So, both teams dominating perfectly, and it was the first quarter stands out. One team started than the other. but one team got reply back into the game. Let's get this the quarter by quarter right now. So we'll start with Adelaide and Brisbane together, as that's pretty much what I think is why I chose this as the game of the round. So it's Adelaide Crows now 3-5, 23, 4-2, 26 at quarter time, 3 points lead to the Brisbane Lions. A really good start to Brisbane. I think they did come out, knew that was going to be a full-on, with the second quarter making it 2-5 to Adelaide, 3-4. So they really won that quarter. Adelaide, pretty accuracy. It was about a 3-2 to 2-3. So it was still Adelaide's leading by 1 point. Now they were down Brisbane for quite most of the time, but it was the final quarter. It was a goal fest. 3 goals. And it was Brisbane winning that last quarter, but it was Adelaide should just won it, but it was not meant to be. It is what it is. Good effort by both teams. You know, you guys do so well. It was one of my favourite games, and Brisbane, without some of their best players, dominated. So here is the top 3 for Adelaide and Brisbane's thoughts of players. So we start with the Adelaide Crows, and we come into Vancity with Sean Dawson, 118 Vancity, 27 disposals, including 7 tackles and 4 marks. Good effort from that. We come to Matt Crouch, 28 disposals, 13 tackles and a mark, with 117 Vancity. We come to the goals. Darcy Fogarty, 101 Vancity, 4 goals, 1 good effort, good performance, 14 disposals, 7 marks, 3 tackles. We come to the Brisbane Lions. Now, this was a really interesting performance with Hugh McClinkage with 97 Vancity with a goal, 31 disposals, 6 marks, 1 tackle. With Joe Berry with a goal, 30 to 110 Vancity with 4 marks, 5 tackles. And we're going to give it to Dane Zinko. Well done on your performance. 109 Vancity with the 26 disposals with 9 marks, 3 tackles. So well done on your performance, but your top 3 for Adelaide and Brisbane. Good effort with the draw. Bounce back next week. We're now heading to a break. We've done with Mother's Day round 9. I hope you all enjoy my thoughts of those games. Now, let's head into that break. As I mentioned before, when we come back, we got BJ Moments round 10, Sir Doug Nicholls Round week 1. So don't go anywhere, there's more to come. Hey, welcome back to the BJ Show Sports Chat. So, before we went to a break, we had Mother's Day round 9, and I hope you all enjoyed my thoughts on that, and I hope the mothers had a wonderful day. So, now we're heading to BJ Moments, Sir Doug Nicholls Round week 1 of round 10. So let's get into it right now. Welcome all back, and hope you're enjoying it. This episode of round 9, Sir Doug Nicholls Round week 1 of the Indigenous. My thoughts, my apologise of not pronouncing the names, as they're quite difficult to pronounce. So my apologise if I'm just saying the English word. I hope that's all good. And also my moments as well. So let's now get into my first part. I'm going to have 2 BJ moments, so keep your eye out, or maybe more. So here, let's now get into BJ moment. BJ moment, here we come now. It's a few quite amazing games, I've got to say, and it was round 9 for this moment. So there's a few I'm going to pronounce. So my first one is the first decade since 2007. This is the very end, mostly at the end of the 2007 season, and Geelong went through and win the premiership that year against the Port Adelaide. Moving on, it was the first time in, say, 17 years, no matter what day or what night of the time of the day it is, Port Adelaide no matter how much you win by, I've got to say, congratulations on that win, because that is a really good win. You knew how Geelong are very good at Geelong, so well done on that. My biggest moments, I got to say, Mother's Day round and Mother's Day, exactly. You got to keep the best game to last. Well, LA v Brisbane, this is the game of the round. Mostly those two games. And this is totally, in my opinion, my thoughts. It was goals after goals, and I mentioned before in my review of my thoughts, it was lots of goals kicked. And I gotta say, it was absolute a beauty. LA just kept coming. Both teams actually kicked the exactly amount of basically just 1 point apart of that last quarter. That was how even it was. Brisbane has some injuries. Adelaide also has some injuries as well. So it was just a heartbreaking performance for both teams. My thoughts, Adelaide should have won that game. But yeah, so that is BJ's moment part 1. What do you think of BJ moment part 1? We just done Sunday night football in Adelaide over for the Cruise and the Lions. Now let's jump back on the plane for Thursday night footy for Gold Coast Suns v Geelong Cats as we head to TIO Stadium in Darwin. We are here in Darwin for Gold Coast Suns vs Geelong. What's my thoughts? Let's get to it now. Wow, the improved Gold Coast and well done. This is accuracy. This is improvement. Last week versus North Melbourne, you kicked 19 goals, 19. And it was not that great. You got the job done, but you're up against a talent to improve, like off-balance Geelong Cats. To improve. They want to be in that finals race, in that top 4. They knew how good they were. They were resting some good players as well, some decent key forwards. So that was a big opening opportunity to get the job done, and you did. With Geelong point of view, you got some big losses, but you can't slip your confidence. Yes, you're winning 7-0 and all that. Teams are after good teams, and there's some games I'll be showing during this series of round 10 of the first week of Sir Doug Nicholls Round. My thoughts of that. Now, let's get into the Gold Coast and Geelong's first by quarter. That's just what's read. So, this was the first quarter. Lots of goals. But Gold Coast was a bit off, but Geelong was accuracy. So, great start for Geelong. You know how good Gold Coast have improved since it was the second quarter. Really got them on top with a big message. They kicked 7 goals to 1. Now, that's very unusual for a team has improved themselves to be a really good team like Geelong. Gold Coast came out and they really pressured. After half-time, it was about 8 goals to 2. Geelong, be a lot more close, a lot more entertainment, but unfortunately, Gold Coast just dominated, and it was the final quarter. Gold Coast get another 7 goals, and it was Geelong's turn. My goodness, they kicked a lot more than 2 goals or 1 goal. They kicked, let's just say, 7 goals. So well done on Geelong on that big response, but unfortunately went down 64 points. Well done Gold Coast on a big win. They are looking very, very good. So my thoughts of Geelong now, unfortunately, they didn't have a lot of their key moment players into this game. They need to rest good players at moments of the season. That's what good teams do. Rest them. This is not going to be easy. Going to, can Geelong just struggle in this heat. It was very, very human. It's Darwin. You know how important this game was for Geelong to get back on the win list. But Gold Coast, thoughts, well done, got the job done. You know how good Geelong can be. And you got onto their game plan very well, and you did so well in your accuracy. You went to training and did your practice. So well done. And whereas Geelong, they didn't kick poorly. That's 25 scoring shots to 34. So it's very, very even, but like 64 points. That's quite a humongous biggest win for Gold Coast. for Geelong, it's some lots of improvements. And in that learning sport, they'll say you improve from a loss. So, well done Geelong, well done Gold Coast on a big win on their second week in Darwin, and well done Geelong on the efforts. We're now done our first game of Sir Doug Nicholls Round, week 1 for the Gold Coast Suns and Geelong Cats. Let's now head back on the plane from TIO, staying in Darwin, and we head to Sydney at the SCG for Sydney Swans hosting Carlton Blues. We have made it from Darwin. Now we're at the SCG in Sydney. We got Sydney versus Carlton. Let's head to my thoughts. Hey, we are in Sydney. SCG, what a good ground. What a now oval. Good crowd in. Let's get the action started as we got the Swans hosting the Blues. Now, what can I say about these two teams? Carlton improve. Can the Swans get the job done? Well, let's find out by quarter. So, let's start with the first quarter. Now, I've got to say, great start for Carlton. Now, with Sydney, you know how good they are. They have totally improved in the last 2 seasons. You know, they made the finals last year, but this is the year they really want to go one step better. Well, Sydney came 3 goals to 5 goals, Carlton. Then we came to the second quarter. Now, Sydney got a bit better. They absolutely totally scoreless Carlton. They didn't look like they want to kick goals, Carlton, but 3 behinds. And then Sydney kicked 4 goals, 2. So 4 goals for that second quarter to 0. So really, it's double the amount, but it's only a couple goals. 2 goals at halftime in front of the Blues. Then it comes to the second half, third quarter. It was the Sydney Swans, 7 goals, fairly accuracy. 7 for 46 points for the quarter to 2 goals, 3-15. So it was a 30 points. The difference overall for the quarter. Carlton got better. They kicked some goals. Not many like they did in the first quarter. Then it came to the final quarter. 3 goals to 2. So really balanced up that last quarter, but not enough, unfortunately, with Sydney winning quite nicely. So that is my thoughts by quarter. We're going to play stats. So I'm just going to go by play name, not by stats, because it gets to. So Ellen Goulden from Sydney dominated. Come to Chad Winger, you know, he dominated with Isaac Henry, with Patrick Cripps, well done, Blake Ace, and as well, the last one is Nick Newman from the Blues. So there are your top 3 for your Swans and Blues and my thoughts for Friday night footy. We're now from Sydney, the SCG. It was a good victory for the Sydney Swans over Carlton. Now we're heading to Melbourne, back on the plane. We've got Collingwood hosting Adelaide Crows. Let's now get back on the plane, travelling to the MCG. We have now arrived for a decent crowd at MCG in Melbourne. What a good flight it was. Let's now get to the Collingwood versus Adelaide Crows. Let's get to my thoughts for this game. Big day for this club, the Adelaide Crows. Before I get to Collingwood just very briefly, what a game this was. Now, this was definitely a game of the round. I'm going to share maybe a little bit why I chose this in my moment very soon. So, quarter by quarter, let's get to that game now. I'm going to share my thoughts with Collingwood, then review into Adelaide Crows by quarter. So, great start. Back to these close games they're so good at. They hold on really well. Well done to Jordan Colucci. You know, he's a star for a reason. He knows how to keep those moments, and he had to celebrate those moments when they come. So 4 goals in the first quarter. Another 4 goals again in the second. 3 goals, and then the 1 goal that didn't look really great in that last. But it was a win, and you've got to take it. With Adelaide point of view, never gave up. And I'll share my play stacks, or generally by play top 3 for each team. So Adelaide kicked 3 goals for the first and second quarter. So that was very basically what Collingwood did. Then we came to the third quarter, 2 goals as well. They only down by 17 points. So it was absolutely anyone's game. And Adelaide knew how important that final quarter. They were winning with about a couple minutes to go. Game on was still on. but Collingwood wanted more. Adelaide just did not want to finish. You need to finish these games strong. If you want to win, get those, you got to perform well. So let's get to my player stats, and we'll start with Collingwood. Nick Dacos, big performer, 115 fantasy, was 41 disposals and 5 tackles. Good job on that. We get to Scott Penberry, 105 fantasy, 30 disposals, 2 goals with 3 tackles and 2 marks. Come to the last player now, Jordan Gallucci, 96 fantasy, 2 goals, the winning goal for the Magpies, and 26 disposals, 6 marks, 1 tackle. Then come to the Adelaide Crows. Now, before I get to my favourite, Matt Crouch came in for the Adelaide Crows, 119 fantasy, 34 disposals, 7 tackles, 4 marks. We come to the next one, who I think really totally showed up and dominated for the Adelaide Crows. Sean Dawson, maybe not a goal in sight, but 117 fantasy, 29 disposals, 5 marks, 7 tackles. ISAT ranking, a goal, 99 fantasy, 30 disposals. A record comes through so much with 4 tackles and 2 marks. That is my thoughts for Collingwood versus Adelaide. MCG, first Saturday afternoon football. We're now heading from the MCG in Melbourne. We're getting back on the plane. We're heading to Sydney, in the Great Western Sydney, as we got GWS versus Western Bulldogs. This could be a big game. So let's head now to ENGIE Stadium for that clash. Let's head to my thoughts. Let's get back on the plane again. What a good flight. We have arrived at ENGIE Stadium for GWS Giants hosting Western Bulldogs. Let's now get to my thoughts. Well, we're here for another Saturday afternoon footy into twilight football. We've got GWS hosting Western Bulldogs. What a game this was, but it was one team kicked really poor. So I'm going to share my thoughts as we speak right now. So it was a great start to GWS, but was it enough? Let's find out right now. So it was 2 goals to 5 behind. Bad kicking to bad football, and that's how the Bulldogs started. It was 2 goals to 4, winning that second half and basically the actual half. It was the third quarter. GWS did not want to be there for this game, and they kicked 3 behinds as Western Bulldogs kicked 5 behinds in the first quarter, to kicking 1 goal 6. Keep themselves out of the game, controlling this to a win. Then it was the final quarter. It was a little better. 2 goals straight. There's 2 goals for that quarter for the GWS Giants. 3 goals 7. Another poor quarter, but slightly better than 1 goal 6. So well done, Western Bulldogs, on a big win over GWS Giants, as they didn't look like one to be a victory at all. So I'm going to break down my thoughts in the players in a way. So we'll start with GWS. So, Lockie Wakefield, 100 fantasy, 31 disposals. With the 3 marks, we come to let's just get into this. Jesse Hogan, 88 fantasy, 3 goals, 14 disposals, 7 marks, 2 tackles. Then it was Tom Green, 29 disposals, with the 3 tackles, 1 mark, 83 fantasy. And was a big performance for the Western Bulldogs. Ed Richards, 97 defensively, 27 disposals, 6 marks, 2 tackles. Was Adam Chor, 94 defensively, 35 disposals, 4 tackles, 1 mark. And it was the last known, Aaron Newman, 1 goal, 88 fantasy, 20 disposals, with 6 marks, 2 tackles. That's my thoughts here, and what a good clash it was. It was actually anyone's game to win here in Sydney's ENGIE Stadium, west of Sydney. That's my thoughts. Let's get back on the plane from Sydney, or Western Sydney, from the GWS Giants hosting Western Bulldogs, back to Melbourne at Marble Stadium for St Kilda hosting Fremantle Dockers. It's been what a travel has been. We've been from Sydney at the SCG on Friday night footy, and we head back to Sydney for the GWS Giants in the Green Western of Sydney. Now here we have returned back to Melbourne once again at Marble Stadium for St Kilda hosting Fremantle. Let's head to my thoughts as we speak right now. Saturday night footy. What a game this was. Maybe not the big crowd we all wanted. Wow, what a game this was. It was a beauty. St Kilda hosting Fremantle. This is the game Fremantle want to win from that bad loss against Sydney. That's okay, but it was poor kicking, and we'll get back. Let's just get straight into my thoughts of this game by quarter. Good start, Fremantle, 3 goals, St Kilda, get alright. Then it was a good quarter for St Kilda, did really well, Fremantle. Just reverse versa. Fremantle kicked 3 goals in the first, St Kilda kicked 2 in the first. Then it was 3 goals, St Kilda, 2 goals, Fremantle. Then it was the third quarter, 2 goals against St Kilda, the 1 goal, and that was not great, but to get a goal, that's all that matters. But it was the last quarter. It was Fremantle 3 goals to a game, 1 goal to St Kilda. So well done, Fremantle, on the win. Good effort, St Kilda. Let's share my player thoughts. Wow, Marshall, what a performance. 39 hit-outs, 9 tackles, 7 marks, 31 disposals, 171 fantasy. Good performance was Jack Sinclair, comes in nets, 118 fantasy, 29 disposals, 9 marks, 3 tackles. And the last and most important, Brady Hill, 109 fantasy, 25 disposals, 7 marks, 4 tackles. For Hayden Young, comes into Fremantle with 108 fantasy, 27 disposals, 8 tackles. Good performance with the 2 marks. Then we come to Jordan Clark, 141 fantasy, 29 disposals, and 8 marks and 8 tackles. Luke Ryan comes in the third best for Fremantle with the 126 fantasy, 27 disposals, 13 marks, 2 tackles. Well done on Fremantle on the win. Good effort, St Kilda. Get back on the track, Fremantle. Get your kicking improved for goals, and good luck next week. Let's now head from Marble Stadium from Saturday night footy, the first game for St Kilda and Fremantle. Now let's get to the gutter in Brisbane. Back on the plane, we got Brisbane hosting Richmond at the gutter. Should be a good game, and let's get to my thoughts. Well, we head into the second Saturday night footy. Let's now get into my thoughts for Brisbane hosting Richmond. What a game, but it was one way. This was a game that Richmond just are much a rebuilding site. And unfortunately, teams just, the Richmond era is completely done. And I'm going to share my quarter by quarter, but Brisbane got the job done. They are a good team for a reason, and they look very strong. So let's get into this the quarter by quarter same with Richmond now. We knew how challenging Brisbane's going to be at the gutter. So 5 behinds, another 2 goals, and 2. So the rest of the game from quarter time was 2 goals on average. For Brisbane Lions, too good. 7 goals in the first, 6 in the second, 5 in the third, and again in the last quarter. Very accuracy. So well done as well for Richmond. Well done. 3 behinds after quarter time. You kicked 6 goals for the next 3 quarters. Not great. For Brisbane, kicking 3 behinds, 4 quarters. So really 2 behinds. So basically averaging from second, third and fourth, averaging a behind, but first quarter kick 1 being 4 behind. So let's get to my player thoughts and all that. So Zane Zico, 148 fantasy, 1 goal, 35 disposals, 15 marks. Lockie Neal, 122 fantasy, 36 disposals, 11 marks. And then we come to most important, Joe Danaher, 3 goals, 20 disposals, with including 119 fantasy, 11 marks, 2 tackles, 2 header. So let's come to Richmond, Toby Curvis, 90 fantasy, 11 disposals, 34 headouts, and 8 tackles. Good performance with the 1 mark. Daniel Ravioli, 84 fantasy, 25 disposals, 3 marks, 4 tackles, and Shane Walton with 87 fantasy, 18 disposals, 5 marks, 6 tackles. So good effort, Richmond, but it was Brisbane far too good on the night, and Bounce back next week. You know, you've got lots of games to improve. But well done, Brisbane once again with a big win over a rebuilding Richmond Tigers. We're heading from the Brisbane game at the gutter. We're heading back on the plane. We're traveling back to Melbourne at Marble Stadium for Essendon Bombers versus North Melbourne. Let's get back on the plane as we speak right now. What a round we have so far, with this being quite warm right here in Brisbane at the gutter. Now we're back in Melbourne. Man, is quite cool. But we've got a special game. We've got Essendon versus North Melbourne. So what can my thoughts? Let's get straight into that bit. So, well, Essendon look very good. They are good for a reason and they get the job done. 4 goals to 2 in the first quarter, leading the way. Good start. Like North Melbourne have kept good quarters close, but it's the next 3 quarters they struggle a little bit. Then it was 3 goals to 4, winning a quarter for North Melbourne. Good job. Then both teams very accuracy, so that's a tick on the box. But it was the 8 goals to 2. North Melbourne did not keep one behind to the final quarter. They kicked another 2 goals. Very similar like Richmond did. They kicked 2-2-2 for the last 3 quarters, from the second quarter, third quarter, and the final quarter, with Essendon just the 1 goal. So, well done, Essendon, with the win. Good effort, North Melbourne. So my thoughts, North Melbourne, keep trying. You're doing really well. You're keeping it under a certain amount, you're getting better. 40 points, so not too bad. You're getting that's your biggest lowest loss this year. You're getting there. So let's get into the player stacks. So let's get to North Melbourne first. So well done to Zach Fisher. Well done on your performance. Was a 121 fantasy, 31 disposals and 11 marks, 1 tackle. Let's get to D. Tucker, 82 fantasy, 23 disposals, 6 marks, 1 tackle. And Luke McDonald, 73 fantasy, but the 17 disposals with the 7 marks, 2 tackles. But there was a lot going on with the Essendon Bombers. Peter Wright, 4 goals, 115 fantasy, 15 disposals, 9 marks, 11 hit-outs, and a big performance with the 1 tackle. We got to Jay Colwell, 105 fantasy, 25 disposals, 7 marks, 5 tackles. And we got Nick Martin, 95 fantasy, 27 disposals, 9 marks, 1 tackle. So well done on your performance. Excellent, good effort to the North Melbourne Footy Club. Let's get 12 back on the plane. Let's fly to Adelaide Oval. We've got Port Adelaide hosting Hawthorn. What a game that is. But let's now get back on the plane as we speak. Wow, we have arrived for this game. Big call still, but okay conditions. We got Port Adelaide hosting Hawthorn. Let's get into my thoughts right now. What another big game this one was, Port Adelaide. Another big win by 1 point. They did it against Geelong in Geelong. Back at home against the shot improved brave Hawthorn Hawks. So what can I say? A brave victory. With 2 seconds on the clock, it was a goal festival. And it was Port Adelaide believing. They are starting to really look very good in 2024. And can Port Adelaide do themselves to get back into finals again and take that 1 step forward? Can they? My thoughts, yes. Unfortunate. But let's get into my thoughts quarter by quarter. Hawthorn came out the roof. This is the Hawthorn I like to see. This is Hawthorn I like to see. And wow, 6 goals to 1. Port Adelaide slow starts. You can't stop slow. You have to work harder to get back in the game. And we had 4 quarters of footy. 3 was 1 goal for Port Adelaide. Then it was 3 goals to 2. Better quarter from Port Adelaide, but had they have believed to get back into the second half? Absolutely, but there was a lot of work. It was 3 goals to 4. Very close, similar margin, but margin was 28 points at 3/4 time, but it was wow factor. Goal fest after goal. Port Adelaide just took control. 4 goals to 0 was 1 point in that last score for Hawthorn. What happened to Hawthorn? They have to go big reviews because Port Adelaide have a way to win game, and they will. They have ways, no matter if they keep poor, they'll still win. So let's get to my thoughts of that Port Adelaide versus Hawthorn, and it's then Houston comes with 3 goals, 22 disposals, 10 tackles, 8 marks, 136 fantasy. We got the Zach Butters, comes to 112 fantasy, 32 disposals from 5th, 5 marks, 6 tackles. Well done. Now, yes, so many great players can play well, and it's really Warrior 72 fantasy, 3 goals, almost a game save, a victory win to get them back in the game with that 3 goals, as I mentioned, 14 disposals, 4 tackles, 1 mark. And it came to the Hawks. Now, what can I say to Hawthorn? Brave effort. Will Day comes in with 1 goal, 27 disposals, 109 fantasy, 4 marks, 5 tackles. Good performance. Kane Amon, former Port Adelaide player. It was a 96 fantasy, 26 disposals, 5 marks, 2 tackles. And it was Blake Hardwick, 132 fantasy, 5 goals, 23 disposals, 6 marks, 4 tackles. Brave effort for Hawthorn, but well done Port Adelaide on the victory. Let's get to the final game, West Coast hosting Melbourne. We're heading back on the plane from Adelaide, a big travel plane ride to Optus Stadium in Perth. Let's get to Perth right now. What can I say? We have made it to the final game. The Sir Doug Nicholls Round, week 1. We've got the West Coast Eagles versus Melbourne Forts. We have made it to the final game, and I think this is actually my favourite of the game. There is a few upsets, but this one was a beauty. Harley Reid will be my best on ground by far, but we'll see what his stats was, because he was a beast at Optus Stadium against Christian Protractor. How amazing. Someone like a young kid to play on a big stage in front of West Coast Eagles, celebrating goals. Well, what can I say about this game? This game was unexpected. West Coast back in good form. Melbourne are striking a little bit, but they're still willing competitive. But let's get to that first quarter by second and third and fourth quarter. The first quarter, 4 goals to 2. Great start to West Coast. Melbourne had a shock start. West Coast came out. The second quarter, where Melbourne, of course, they will bounce back into that second quarter and give 4 goals straight to West Coast, just to 3 goals. It was 5 goals straight to 2 goals, 8. West Coast took control and led the way. Only 3 goals. That was 18 points at 3/4 time. It was another 4 goals to the final quarter to 1 goal. Melbourne had everything to their control, but good effort Melbourne. Big win for West Coast. Let's get to that player stack as I mentioned before. Tim Kelly back in good form. 107 fantasy, 30 disposals, 5 marks, 3 tackles. Let's go to Jenny McGovern. Deserved a victory on there. He had 90 fantasy, 23 disposals, 8 marks, 1 tackle. Now this man, I mentioned before, Harley Reid, and not just the 82 fantasy, 21 disposals, 2 goals, 4 tackles, 2 marks. So great performance for a young kid like him. Plays so well. We come to Con Oliver from Melbourne's best player, was 94 fantasy, 26 disposals with the 8 tackles. A good effort from there. Then it was Jack Varley, 98 Fantasy 19 disposals with 9 tackles for marks. And we come to the last and known West gave it to Max Gormwell, man. 86 Fantasy with the 20 disposals, 3 marks, 28 hit outs. So well done on West Coast with the victory. Ballard, Melbourne heads up, back on the track and give it a crack for next round. Well, that is it. Round 10 of my thoughts from we were at TIO Stadium for the Gold Coast Suns v Geelong Cats. Travel to Sydney at SCG for Swans and the Blues. We travel back to Melbourne. What a game was that? MCG close with the Pies and the Crows. We travel back to Sydney at the Western of Sydney. Great Western Sydney. Giants hosting the Western Bulldogs. What a game was that? Back to Melbourne at Marble Stadium. What a game that was. Big win to the Dockers. Ballard with St Kilda. They give it a crack. We traveled back to a bit warmer. It was like that. Brisbane at the gutter. It was the Lions on with the Tigers. Back to back now again with Marble Stadium again. We got the Bombers and the Roos. And then we're back to Adelaide. We had a big travel here with Port Adelaide. Big win over the Hawks. And then we travelled from Adelaide Oval. Big travel as West Coast holding a big win over the Melbourne Demons. So what do you think of my thoughts? I think they're pretty good. So now guys, time to take a break. When we come back, don't go anywhere. There's more to come. A part 2 of BJ Moment. What is that? We'll find after the break. Don't go anywhere. Let's go there. Can't wait for more to come. Hey, welcome back to the BJ shows. So we're now into BJ Moment Part 2. Why 2 parts? Well, we had round 9, Mother's Day round, and round 10, Sir Doug Nicholls Round, round 10. So let's get into right now round 10 moments. So guess what? There's so much to share on this episode, and there's so many upsets and there's so many close games for this game, and I'm going to share the first one. And there might be a couple games, but the Port Adelaide Hawthorn game, the game of the round, the biggest shot for Hawthorn Hawks. As you know, Hawthorn were leading up to about 7 goals in the game. So it was a very comfortable lead to Hawthorn. And how did that slip? They were 29 points, 5 goals, and they went to sleep. They only hit 1 point. Port Adelaide just kicked them control 4-0, and Port Adelaide had more. Won't believe to win it. So that's one part. Now this is the game. Collingwood and Adelaide. Now there was an up and down. Yes, Collingwood favourites. They're very good at MCG. Now Adelaide controlled, stayed in that contest, but they didn't start great. None of those two, Collingwood and Adelaide, didn't start great. But Collingwood led the way most of the game. And Adelaide and Collingwood were very even in the first half. So it was very close. Then it came to the third quarter. Collingwood just slightly leading that quarter all game. But it was the final quarter. Adelaide found a way to stay in that contest. And fortunately, it was just... so there are my 2 moments I think it is. And a really, really good moment for West Coast. Getting back in some fantastic moments. Harley Reid absolutely dominated with 2 goals and 20 plus disposals. He does absolutely dominate. Melbourne just could not even stay in that contest. Melbourne, West Coast just dominated. Started well with Melbourne, of course, they apply that course. They find ways to do that. And it was the last second half, totally kicked them out of key 9 goals, 1 to Melbourne, 4 goals, 9. So they really did kick themselves out of the game. If they kept 9 goals for, big difference. But West Coast was slightly stronger. So that is BJ Moment Part 2. I hope you enjoy it. Hey, that's the wrap. We are going to end this show with a great ending. Thank you so much. Make sure you hit that follow on anywhere you get your podcasts. Follow on Instagram. I'm doing a lot of live streams as well. Facebook. Continue liking that, really appreciate it. And if you got YouTube, subscribe that, because there'll be more content will be coming on. So keep your eye out for that. More special editions of BJ Show and Sports Chat. Very important that. So thank you so much, Aiden, in the next Sports Chat episode, and more to come. Thank you so much for listening. We'll see you next time. See you soon. Peace out. Bye for now.